It's the Happy Families Podcast. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
How good are the Olympic Games? 1 week to go. 1 week left of watching athletic elite performance. Stunning stuff that we get to see. And you know, Kylie, my favourite thing, that's not my favourite thing, but one of my favourite things to watch is the concentration on the faces of the parents who are watching their children compete at these games.
There's so many different emotions crossing their faces. You can see it. The agony of anticipation, the joy and elation when they get it right. But you're watching some parents literally almost
their bodies.
Go through the moves with their kids as they're sitting in their seats. It's like they're on a roller coaster ride.
I'm watching the parents do the moves instead of the athlete. Because obviously some of the, especially, it's all over social media as well. Parents are mic'd up. They're sort of living it with them. And there's one that I found that I just love. This is actually a slightly older one, but it did it so well. I want to play it because most of them don't have particularly useful audio, but this just gives you a sense of what's going on. This is for a United States gymnast called Alexandra Reisman, and her parents, oh my goodness, like their whole bodies are contorting as this happens.
Let's go.
So you can hear mum in the background.
Come on, handstand, let's go. Come on, Allie, come on.
Meantime, Dad's leaning back, the look on his face.
The concentration. It's like they're actually there doing it.
Come on.
Lean to the left, go to the right.
Let's go.
Dad's suddenly leaning back so far. He'll catch it. He's so far. He's out of picture.
Stick it, please. Stick it. Yeah!
And they're out of the seats. I just love it. I think, I love the brilliance of it. It's so aspirational. It's so exciting. And when they have those breakthrough moments, personal bests or win gold, I think sometimes it's more entertaining. I don't usually know what I'm watching anyway, especially with the gymnastics, for example. But the parents, oh my goodness, they're so into it. So today's podcast is all about what do we do? How do we help our children to become Olympic athletes? That's what I want to talk about today. How do we get our kids to the Olympics?
Well, I can just say we're not doing a particularly good job if that is your goal.
You know, we should have contacted. I've got a couple of former Australian Olympians in my telephone. Would have been fun to talk to them. They're a little busy right now with this Olympic Games thing happening. It's not for everyone. But I did want to ask this question. I think it's a more helpful and potentially more healthy question. And that is, how can we cultivate an elite level of performance and also raise our kids to have perspective and to be healthy and to be, I'm going to use the word intact, to be intact. And maybe not even an elite level of performance because not all of us are going for that. But if our kids really do want to succeed and excel in sport, this is not us, this is them. How do we help them to do that in a way that's healthy for them and for us?
This is a really tricky question because watching from the sidelines, so many times I just see these kids being kind of driven from pillar to post in an effort to excel, but at the expense of their lives, because there's no balance in their lives. It all becomes about that one thing. And the whole family has to be, kind of involved in supporting that one child.
Yeah, when we look at what research shows about young kids in competition, I think that the message from data is pretty clear. Don't get them involved in competition, and if you do, minimize the competitive elements of the activity. Until they're somewhere around about 12, it doesn't seem that cognitively kids grasp what competition is, how it works, and what it means. And too many of them internalize the idea that they're a winner or a loser based on what's going on in those early years. In fact, I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm getting out over my skis and saying it anyway. I just did a recording with the Wiggles for their Wiggles podcast, and we talked about whether we should be getting young kids involved in these organised sports and things. And the short answer is probably not, no. Even as we get to older kids, though, a 2024 report from the American Academy of Pediatrics showed that 70%, that's 70% of young athletes are experiencing burnout in the United States.
That's a huge number.
And what it tells me is that we've lost perspective on what sport's about. We're focusing on the wrong stuff, and young people are bearing the brunt of that. They're bearing the consequences of that. So maybe it's worth talking about what the purpose of sport is.
When I think of the purpose of sport, for me, it's about providing my children with a physical outlet.
Great.
And also encouraging more social connections.
Yeah.
They're the things that really stand out to me.
My list's a little longer. So in addition to the social relational aspect and the physical health and movement aspect, I'm looking at competence or progress or mastery, because there's something really motivating and delightful about having that mastery experience. And I'm also looking at the central ingredient, I think the most important of all, and that's fun. Like, if the kids are going to be involved in an activity, let's make sure they really enjoy it. They get something out of it. They find delight in it. If the joy is there, then the rest of it will take care of itself.
And I guess for me, that's the given. Like, if they're using their bodies and they're making great connections, then it is fun. It becomes fun.
So there's also cognitive benefits. Unfortunately, my sense is that, especially when we watch the games, then we get really motivated. We're like, come on, kids, you can do it. You can become an Olympian as well. And we sort of lose perspective. And when we lose perspective, we start to focus on other things like prestige and wealth, merchandise with our kids' names on it. Or even if we pull it right back to the primary school, seeing our child win the Sports Star of the Year award at the end of the year on assembly, those kinds of things. And all this ties in with this idea of potential. Our perspective shifts, and all of a sudden, because our child is great, we start to attack the referee or abuse the referee, or we go really hardcore at the coach, or we become the coach. We have to coach our child because only we can help them to realize their potential.
Or we ride our kids harder because our identity is all locked up in whether or not they succeed.
Right. Big examples of that, massive ones. I'm thinking of Tiger Woods and his dad. I'm thinking of Jelena Dokic and her dad. I mean, there's some, I guess there's some slightly unhealthy examples.
I recently watched the movie King Richard.
Oh, the Williams sisters.
And again, just you can see both sides of the equation. But here's a dad who wants to get his children out of the slums where they've lived and move up in the world and become something more than what he experienced. And so his driving force initially,
the motivations are good.
Is so good.
Yeah.
But it becomes it almost becomes an obsession.
So I think this is the critical thing. Okay, parental investment. Bear with me. I've had an analogy spring to mind. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but let me try it. Parental investment's like a Louis Vuitton bag. The price of the bag outstrips the pace of inflation. So there's already a premium on it, but it keeps going up faster than inflation goes up, which makes it a luxury item. And I think that parents' desire for their children to do well can sometimes outstrip the child's desire. And unfortunately, as a result of that, it ends up controlling it.
Yeah.
It ends up sometimes it might reinforce it, and that could be a healthy thing, but it might also control it. And that's the key word. That's when it becomes unhealthy. Because
you see it. These kids have got this either a natural ability or a burning desire. Those two things. And as they continue to build on that and gain success and their motivation grows, so do their parents.
So then the parent becomes the coach and the nutritionist and the chauffeur and the psychologist and the sleep therapist, and it overwhelms the family in some cases. A couple of weeks ago on the podcast, we talked about early talent identification programs and had a really great chat about that. We will link to them in the show notes because I think that there's real value in that. And just this professionalization of kids' sports, I have 4 ideas. 4 ideas to help your children to be engaged in their athletic and competitive pursuits in healthy ways, which may or may not get them to the Olympics. It really depends on them, and that's the key thing.
Number one,
examine your motivations, examine their motivations. Ideally, they'll be intrinsic motivations. So it's not going to be about the prestige. It's not going to be about the trophy or the award. It's not going to be about the potential endorsements or getting that pro contract. It's going to be about joy and delight and development progress and love. Your love for them, their love for you, and their love for the game. And I think there's a part B of this. When we're focusing on or examining motivations, what we really need to do is focus on our children's goals.
A couple of months ago, Emily came to us and said she wanted to play the drums. We've already been through the violin.
Yes.
We've done the recorder.
And the piano.
And now it's the drums.
Yeah.
So we've kind of just left it sitting there for a handful of months, just seeing where she sits with it. Well, she kept coming back to us, and so finally we took her to her first drum lesson the other day.
My goodness.
I wish I had my phone with me to record just the elation on her face when she got to show me her first drum roll.
And now I know that she will be a better drummer than Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters. Like, she's going to be an Olympic level. If they had an Olympics for drumming, she'd win gold. And we're going to push her. No, I'm just kidding. The focus on the child's goals is literally, you take the lead, we're here to support. And that might mean that they will quit things. And some parents say, well, I don't want to invest and I don't want to do it because, number one, it's the money, but I want my kids to be resilient and not quit stuff. And my response to that has become, in the last little while, you've quit more things in your life than you've stuck to. As an adult, you've quit many, many, many more things than you've stuck to.
But how many miserable adults would we have out there if we started something and then felt like we've got to finish it?
And you don't finish piano or you don't finish gymnastics or swimming. You ideally fall in love with it and it becomes a lifelong passion and delight. Number 2, consider the environment. You look at the coach, you look at the team, you look at the focus. See above, I was talking before about the professionalization of children's sports. That's what I'm talking about with number 2.
Number 3.
Teach kids to sit with hard feelings. No matter what sport they engage in, no matter what they decide to do, there will be times when it is tough. I talked with the Wiggles about this thing that I don't know if it exists or not. I should Google it and find out. I'm calling it the competence curve. When your kids start something, there's this really fast progress, really quick acceleration. It's like, oh, I can do this. Like Emily with the drums. She's showing us a drum pattern that she learned on day 1 and she feels really competent. But somewhere between, I'm going to say 6 and 10 weeks in, the kids kind of hit a wall. They're like, okay, I've learned all the easy stuff. Now I have to do some work. And that's where the competence curve kind of plateaus. If we can help our children to sit with the hard, difficult feelings, they will do better. And there will be ongoing spurts of progress and then moments where we plateau or drop off.
And number 4.
The most important of all, separate your child's performance at whatever it is that they're doing from the love that you have for your child. They need to hear, regardless of the outcome, hey, I love you. I love you no matter what.
I honestly think that every parent thinks they're doing that.
It's about saying it, because when you dive in with the coaching, when you start to push, when you say next week, you've got to use your body more. Next week, you've got to get in front and run towards the ball.
So in Dad's mind, that's his way of saying, I'm invested. I love you. I want you to do well.
That's right. This is not bagging out mum or dad for trying to step into that role. This is about saying, let your child take the lead. What matters is, are you having fun? I just love watching you play. I don't care whether you win or lose. I don't care whether you play the game or whether you quit. I don't care whether you're trying your hardest or you're just out there taking up space on the field because that's all you had today. Doesn't bother me. What I want to see is that you're loving it and that I get to see you enjoying what we're doing. That unconditionality around it is what is going to drive motivation more than anything else and get them to the Olympics. I mean, and help them to live a life where they have a high level of performance, ideally, but not necessarily.
What year are we making it to the Olympics, honey?
And remain intact. We hope this has given you some inspo when it comes to Saturday sport or whatever it is that your kids are up to. Thanks so much for listening to the Happy Families podcast. We love making it for you. We know you could choose to spend your time with anyone else doing anything else, and you've chosen us. It means a lot to us. Enjoy the last week, the very last week of the Olympic Games. I really am inspired. It's made me want to ride my bike fast. It's made me want to do more surfing. I'm feeling athletic, Kylie. Are you feeling it? Are you feeling athletic? Think about it a little longer. Just, I'm going to take that as a not really.
Not really.
Oh my goodness. I tell you, if the Olympics doesn't get you inspired to get out and move your body, I don't know what will.
Well, I will say that I've cleaned my house with a lot more energy this week.
Right. And it looks great. It's gold medal performance. Brilliant stuff. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rowland from Bridge Media. Thank you, JR, for the fabulous work that you do. We just appreciate you so very much. If you'd like more information about making your family happier and helping your children through those tough times, please check out our Happy Families membership. It's really, really affordable and it's super practical with activities for you, but also content for your kids to help them with the hard times. All the information information about the easy to access Happy Families membership is online at happyfamilies.com.au.